For a very long time, I saw that this war in Gaza has no goal, because the goals that the government declared were unachievable and they were endless. What is the total victory? What is the final extermination of Hamas? I mean, you never reach it. But in recent weeks, I saw a change in the war and I realized that there is a plan and that things are much more systematic than we thought. All of a sudden, I see they are destroying whole neighborhoods, whole cities, whole villages. This is total destruction. And then I realized that there is a plan of ethnic cleansing of Gaza. This is the idea, to make Gaza unlivable, to push them to the south, and from the south to push them outside. I'm not sure that the plan will be implemented, but I'm sure that there is a very clear goal, and the world should know about it. The goal is the ethnic cleansing of Gaza, or if you want to call it, the second Nakba.
Today's guest is one of the most fearless and honest journalists working in the Israeli media. Mr. Gideon Levy is an award-winning columnist for Haaretz, where he's written for over 40 years. His work has earned him the Euromed Journalist Prize in 2008 and the prestigious Hans Litten Prize in Germany in 2021 for his unwavering documentation of the Israeli occupation and its impact on Palestinian life. He's often featured on the largest Western platforms, but today won't be a replay of questions he gets asked on Western podcasters. I've invited him here because both Mr. Levy and I hail from the region, and that means we see angles that others simply might miss. So not out of neglect on their part, but because you can't substitute lived experience. Mr. Levy, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Mr. Levy, you just put out a very strong article in Haaretz, which I will provide a link to later, entitled, It is now clear that Israel has a plan for the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians from Gaza. Can you please elaborate on that for our viewers?
Yes. For a very long time, I saw that this war in Gaza has no goal, because the goals that the government declared were unachievable and they were endless. What is the total victory? What is the final extermination of Hamas? I mean, you never reach it. And about the hostages, which was one of the goals, whatever Israel did was against releasing the hostages, because we knew that the hostages can be released only by negotiations. But in recent weeks, I saw a change in the war and I realized that there is a plan and that things are much more systematic than we thought. It was first with the systematic destruction of Gaza. It's not a building here, another building there, with all kind of military excuses. All of a sudden I see they are destroying whole neighborhoods, whole cities, whole villages. This is total destruction. And then came the idea of the so-called humanitarian city in the south of Gaza, which is a concentration camp. Why would they put all of them in a concentration camp, declaring the way out will be allowed only to another country? Once you're in it, you cannot leave it unless you leave to another country. And then I realized that there is a plan of ethnic cleansing of Gaza. This is the idea, to make Gaza unlivable, to push them to the south, and from the south to push them outside. I'm not sure that the plan will be implemented, but I'm sure that there is a very clear goal, and the world should know about it. The goal is the ethnic cleansing of Gaza, or if you want to call it, the second Nakba.
Yes. Sir, drawing upon that, Mr. Levy, over the past 20 months, we've seen a viral resurgence of a deeply rooted Zionists claim that after the Jewish revolt, where the Romans also performed the expulsions of the Jewish people back in 70 AD and 135 AD, the claims of the Zionists is that the land was abandoned, and when the Jews returned to Palestine, they found it empty. Zionists often argue it was home only to passing Bedouins and nomads. So I ask you, sir, empty of what in their thinking? Empty of what exactly? Empty of civilization, of continuity, or simply empty of people that Zionism deemed unworthy of recognition? Why is this myth being recycled at the moment when ethnic cleansing, as you so say now, is openly and alarmingly unfolding in Gaza?
Because this was the way to justify Zionism. This was the way of pushing away 600, 700,000 Palestinians in 1948. The first lie of Zionism was a people without a land arrived to a land without a people. We were all told about it when we were children. There was nothing here, no people, no culture, no industry, no economy, nothing. And we, the Jews, came to an abandoned land which used to belong to us, and we resettled it again. We just came home to our homeland. This is much easier to digest rather than to start to talk in colonialistic terms. Like we, the Jews, came a people without a land, came to a land with the people, and from day one we started to pushing them away from here. And this was the first Nakba, and this is now the second Nakba. To admit this means that there is something wrong in Zionism. And therefore, it's much easier to digest the fact that it was empty and we developed this country and we did everything about this country, and there was here practically no one, which is obviously a total lie.
Mr. Levy, when I had Professor Sachs over, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked him. The political manipulation of the word Semite. In the West, it's widely assumed that it applies only to Jews. But historically, this is something that we know here in the region, but this is something that Western audience doesn't really know. Historically, Semite refers to peoples linked by language. This includes the Arabs, the Assyrians, the Phoenicians, and the Jews. So as a Lebanese, I am part of that group, like you are, sir, right? So how is it that Palestinians and Lebanese, both Semitic, are smeared as anti-Semite for criticizing Israeli policy? How did this term become so narrowly weaponized? And what does its cultural and political monopolization referring exclusively to Jews reveal, especially when legitimate criticism of Israel is continuously labeled and shut down as anti-Semitic?
So first of all, it starts with the Holocaust. The Holocaust was aimed mainly at Jews, not only, by the way, but no doubt that the Jews were the biggest victim of the Holocaust. And Israel claims that it was established on the ashes and the survivors of the Holocaust. But this belongs to the past. For many, many years, we didn't think much about anti-Semitism until Israel revealed a very cynical manipulation, namely to label any critic of Israel as anti-Semitism. There is anti-Semitism in the world, and it should be fought, and it is ugly like any racism. But to label any criticism about Israel as anti-Semitism was extremely success, and it's only in recent years, because then it's your fault, not ours. You should be blamed. The people of conscience who criticize the occupation, the people of conscience who criticize the apartheid, they should be blamed because they're anti-Semite. And I must tell you, it's quite a great success for Israel because in recent years, it paralyzed Europe and in many ways also the United States because any critic was labeled as anti-Semite. Nobody wants to be labeled as anti-Semite, and mouths were shut. Look at the international media until the war. They didn't dare to criticize Israel because they were always afraid to be labeled as anti-Semites. Now there is a shift, obviously, because after what Israel had done in Gaza, nobody can remain silent. And I don't know one person of conscience in the entire world who can help it not condemning Israel, not being irritated by what Israel is doing. What your original question was about the use of anti-Semites only toward the Jews. I don't know. There is obviously it's a big mistake, but this is more of a conceptual idea. It should be anti-Jewish and not anti-Semite. I mean, we should call it anti-Jewish because what we say today, anti-Semitic, means anti-Jewish, and the others have the Islamophobia, as we know, but that's separated and not very different in many cases.
Thank you, sir, for that. Mr. Levy, I'd like us to address an episode largely unknown to Western audiences and even to many in our region here, in Cyprus, in Lebanon, in Israel. Yet it's of very historical, significant momentum, importance in the post-World War II diplomatic discussions surrounding the establishment of the State of Israel. Let me get to it. Between 1946 and 1949, over 53,000 Jewish refugees, mostly Holocaust survivors, were detained by the British colonial forces in internment camps near Karaolos in the eastern part of Cyprus, just outside of today's Turkish-occupied Famagusta. According to U.S. diplomatic records at Zionist archives of the time, the idea of Cyprus as the site for the establishment of the Jewish homeland was quietly back then discussed by American and British officials, but firmly rejected by the Zionist leaders, especially David Ben-Gurion, who insisted only Palestine would do. How do you view, sir, this very important moment of history that's largely unknown to the people?
First of all, I never heard about it. There was an idea to establish the Jewish state in Uganda. This was a serious idea
Yes.
much before. I never heard about Cyprus.
Yes.
But if it would have been Cyprus, it would be much easier to claim that that's pure colonialism. Because what's the connection of the Jews to Cyprus? The choice of Palestine was a choice which was based on the idea that the Jews lived there once, 2,000 years ago. For me, it's not enough for claiming sovereignty there, even if our grandparents lived here, so what? But it was much easier to convince the world that Palestine has, and we have some sources here, we have some roots here, We can't say that Jews and Palestine is totally, in Cyprus you could have said it, nothing. In Palestine, there are deep Jewish roots. Nobody can deny it. I don't think it's enough for ignoring the people who lives here or lived here before us. But I don't think this idea could have been implemented because then it would have been pure colonialism without any excuses.
Thank you, sir, for that. Mr. Levy, since we're touching upon Cyprus, I want to stay on it for this question. Also, Cyprus, right now, a quiet transformation is underway. I'm sure you're aware of it. Thousands of Israelis are settling, buying land, opening Zionist schools. They actually just got the license to open a Zionist school here that will attract Jewish children, not from Israel, but from other parts of the world, especially Europe. They're forming enclaves. Israeli firms also are rapidly acquiring key economic assets and large areas of land. Even Haaretz, back in August 2023, ran the headline, "Is Cyprus the second Israel?" I'll provide a link to that for my viewers in the description
Yeah.
box. The Israeli population here has surged from 400 to over 12,000 in just 2 decades, sir, with 3,000 new arrivals every year. This isn't new, though. In 1899, Zionist leader David Treich, I don't know if I'm Treich, proposed Cyprus as a Jewish colony. You, sir, have long warned about the occupation of Palestine. As Cypriots, there is some concern now brewing among the population. I want you to say, do you think there's a quieter occupation now unfolding in Cyprus?
I was recently in a conference in Delphi, in Greece. And when I arrived in the airport of Athens, the first big billboard that I saw was in Hebrew. And it called Israelis to buy property in Greece. I was shocked. In Greece, with so many tourists from all over the world in the airport, the first advertisement that I saw was in Hebrew, calling Israelis to buy property. Now, going to Cyprus is a good outlet for many Israelis because Cyprus is so close to Israel. I don't think that anyone has any colonialistic idea about Cyprus. It's mainly young families who want to leave Israel but stay very close, not to go too far. And yes, they might create there some colony of Israelis. We are dealing now only with thousands, not with 10,000s for sure, not with 100,000. It's a certain trend now to go to Cyprus and to Greece, by the way. Greece is more or less the same. Cyprus is even closer, therefore it is so attractive. And I think that if Cyprus wants to stop it, it can stop it very easily in a legal way. Many countries make it impossible for foreigners to buy property. I mean, I wouldn't be worried if that's the subtext of what you ask. If Israel has a plan to occupy Cyprus, to me it sounds ridiculous. No, that's not the case. Might be that few thousands or tens of thousands of Israelis will move to Cyprus permanently or temporary. It's up to you not to give them the legal chance. I mean, you don't have to absorb all the Israelis who are coming.
Sir, I wanted
It's
to
really
ask you because it is a matter of concern among the population. It's more the concern that there are also a number of Israeli firms coming to acquire key economic assets of the country on large plots of lands. That's more of a concern rather than the individuals and the
I
families.
know, and I
That's the
understand it.
most important
Look,
concern.
my wife is Swedish, and in Sweden, for a certain time, I don't know if now, there was a great fear of many Germans coming and buying property in Sweden. If you want to stop it, I mean, and I don't think that Germany wants to occupy Sweden, but it is a trend. There are many more Israelis in the United States, as you can imagine yourself, and nobody is scared that Israelis are going to conquer or occupy the United States. But there are legal ways to stop it. I don't know why your government, if it is a real concern, put some limits.
Yes, understood.
It's your full right. You're
Yeah,
a sovereign state. Put some limits to it, sure.
understood. For the states, sir, I mean, we know that Israelis as a population in the world, it's only 7 million. I mean, they can never really occupy someone. There's other means to take over a country. I mean, in the US, we all know through APAC, they basically control some of the biggest aspects of running the country, whether it's financial, whether it's the media, whether it's foreign policy. So
Yeah,
that's
but
what.
that's more the Jewish community, not the
Yes, the Jewish
Israelis.
lobby. Yes, yes. So, sir, I want to
Yes,
go to
yes.
my final question since I know you're pressed with time and I appreciate you for coming on my show. The UN Special Rapporteur, Francesca Albanese, she recently released that searing report titled From Economy of Occupation to Economy of Genocide. She called Gaza a death trap. She named 48 global corporations, including Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Alphabet, for profiting directly from Israel's military occupation. She also described Israel's assault on Gaza as one of the cruelest genocides of modern history. The U.S. didn't investigate. They're punishing her. They're filing sanctions against her, calling her actions as economic warfare, since she's asking also for the ICC to investigate U.S. and Israeli officials. Also, protest is being criminalized in the US and in the UK. There's laws that blur the line between defending Palestinian rights and actually being active supporters of terrorism. And even here in Cyprus, just days ago, 3 individuals were charged for releasing a Palestinian flag tied to heart-shaped balloons over a stadium where an Israeli soccer team was playing. So I want to ask you this, sir. When exposing war crimes are sanctioned, when those who are exposing the war crimes are sanctioned, when peaceful acts of dissent are prosecuted, what does that say about the future of international law? And how alarmed should we be when even the basic rights to inquire, to speak out, and to protest they're treated as threats?
You should be very, very worried. First of all, you should be worried that for the last 21 months, Israel is slaughtering and killing and destroying Gaza, and the world does nothing about it. And the international institutions do nothing about it, and the international legal institutions, like the International Court of Justice and the Criminal Court of Justice, so they issued the arrest orders against Netanyahu. Nothing is happening. It shows the weakness of the international community. And it should worry us a lot, because all those institutions, take, for example, the International Court of Justice. They are sitting over 1 year now over the question if it is a genocide or not. By the time they will finish their job, maybe there will be no living people in Gaza. Mm-hmm. So, that's really a weakness of the international community. Here, I can't blame Israel for it. I can blame the international community, who is so passive, who is so indifferent, who is so supportive to Israel no matter what, who is not listening to public opinions in those countries. Because in public opinion, the picture is totally different. The problem is the government. Look how Russia got sanctions few weeks after invading Crimea. And Israel is now 21 months of no argument that it's a barbaric war, and the word sanctions is even not mentioned.
Yes.
So yes, the international community has to check itself. It is not one of the nicest hours of the international community. This passiveness, this apathy, this lip service of the EU, the lip service I don't expect from Donald Trump much, but the EU,
yes,
and also the weakness of the international organizations.
Mr. Levy, thank you very much for your time and for your insights. These conversations are very rare, not because the facts are hidden, but because some of the angles we explore here sadly almost never make it into international interviews.
Thank you so much. It was also very interesting for me.
Have a
All
good
the
rest.
best.
If the conversation with Mr. Levy challenged what you've been told, let us know in the comments, and subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss a content drop. Also share and like, as this helps push the conversation further and helps more people hear what others won't say. We're not just another channel. We're the only fully English-speaking woman-led channel broadcasting straight from the Eastern Mediterranean, and your support helps us break through the noise. Thank you for watching. Keep unfiltered.